Hi, how you doing? I'm Chief of Police Dean Rondo, and to my left is Captain Mark Livy, the Executive Officer for the Wolfeboro PD. And welcome back to another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. And so if you're watching this program now, the kids have either gone back to school or they're going back to school very shortly. So September is kind of an exciting time here in Wolfeboro. We're going to have Labor Day will be upon us before we know it. We have a lot of the end of summer activities that normally occur, and it's a really exciting time. You have the fall foliage will be upon us before we know it in October, and time to start getting everything buttoned up for the winter. So taking things in lockstep, the first part of September, you'll see the kids going back to school on or about the 9th, right, Captain? The 9th of September?
4th.
The 4th of September, okay. So some kids are going to be going back to school a little bit early and some a little bit later than normal, but, you know, right around between the 4th and the 9th. You know, Kingswood football team will be starting up their practices, so they'll be practicing up at the high school playing fields. So where am I going with all this? Well, what's going to happen is that there'll be children walking to and from school and a high school complex and middle school on the sides of the road and riding their bikes early in the morning. And the school buses will be out, which means that you need to leave more time in your schedule getting to and from work. It's you're not going to be on the summer schedule anymore. There'll be buses offloading at Carpenter School, and at the middle school, be buses going to and coming from the high school complex. And so just keep that in mind as to when you're going to work and coming from work, that it's going to be a little bit more congested than normal. Additionally, the Center Street project will be starting back up again in September, so you need to leave a little bit more time if you're going to be traveling on Center Street. A good 15 minutes or so ought to give you plenty of time to get through the traffic congestion and the shutting down of the road to one lane. So keep that in the back of your mind. Also, as we get deeper and deeper into the fall, the animals will be on the move. They'll be foraging for the winter, getting ready for another long winter. So keep that in mind. The deer, the moose, the bear, and other animals will be scurrying to and from their homes, looking for food and crossing the roadways. And as you know, the animals don't look both ways before they cross the street. So you need to drive with a little bit more due care and caution as you're going about your very busy lives here in Wolfeboro. Operationally speaking, we'll be winding down our patrol grants for the summer. Those will be all done by 15 September or so, but then we'll be starting up our drug and addiction patrols, which will be starting at about that time as well. We're still doing speed enforcement operations on Sewell Road, which is where our radar trailer is deployed presently, and Beach Pond Road and North Main Street and South Main Street, as I like to say, all the usual suspects. So be mindful of your speeds. We're receiving complaints still, especially on North Main Street and Sewell Road, of vehicles speeding. Anywhere you see the radar trailer, you'll see increased patrol presence. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That's a word to the wise. Having said all that, I'm going to turn it over now to Captain Mark Livy. Captain?
Thanks, Chief. So what's going on with the inside the PD and with dispatch, central dispatch? It's been a busy summer. Got into September, so as he said, the grants are winding down, but they will start back up in October. So just remember that October 1st, that's the states, they go from fiscal year October 1st to October. So that will be starting back up in October for the next years, for their fiscal year 19. Granted, it's still our fiscal year 18. So that will be done. As he said, the Operation Shield opiate grants will be coming into effect, I believe, in September 1st. So that will be starting up again for the next year as we proceed through. What else has gone on there? So we did get, as he was talking about the radar trailer, we do have 2 more radar devices, It's not the same as the radar trailer, but they're a little differently. But we have 2 more additions from a donor, which is remarkable. So we are setting those up. They're a little trickier than the radar trailer. So Officer Fenton is getting those all set up, and you will see them out by the end of this year before the winter does come out. So like I said, they're a little different than the radar trailer, a little smaller, but they'll be visible out there, so you can see what your speeds are. Same thing as the trailer that's out there. So that's a nice addition to our correct. So I mean that's a nice thing. Anything going on with Central Dispatch? As we said, Jordan Pello is one of our part-time. She's doing a wonderful job in there. Come in, say hi, meet her. One of these days when she's working, I'm hopefully to get her in here as the shifts work. But I want to get some more additions out here that you haven't seen yet, some officers, some dispatchers. But summer's busy. That's how way it's going. So we're in the winter, so maybe I can get them out here so you guys can talk to them and see them and hopefully come out here and meet with them. What else is out there? So I'll let the chief go with the talk about the building, and the budget system is starting up. So we're going to be really getting focused, him and I, on the budgets for fiscal year 2019. But I know we presented the building in the selectmen's meeting last July. But I'll let the chief focus on that and talk about that right now.
Yeah, thank you, Captain, for jogging my memory on that. Yeah, so and if you don't know, in the CIP plan, which is online, you can find that on the town's website. There is a scheduled to be built as a new public safety building. So this is a building which is going to house essentially 2.5 departments: Police Department, Fire Department, and Wolfeboro Central Dispatch. And that's really important to remember. So you have 2.5 departments that will be housed in this building. That plan was presented to the Board of Selectmen on the 25th of July and was approved for further study and further development. It's really starting to shape up. The building is slated for construction in 2022. So again, 2022. But that building will really give the public safety personnel in the town of Wolfeboro an increased capability and capacity to provide public safety services in the terms of police, fire, emergency dispatch, and EMS services to the citizens. Is a very, very important project. We encourage your support. We want your support. This is for you. This is to help us, help you in times of crisis, in times of emergency. The building will be code compliant, and it will provide a greater, again, capability and capacity for the town of Wolfeboro. So this is very, very important. I'm very excited about this. I've been involved in this project from its inception, along with the captain. And we're looking forward to really having a new facility which will serve the needs of the citizens of Wolfeboro well into the next 50 years. Well into the next 50 years. And I think this is a very, very important project, and it's one, again, that I hope you support. We definitely need it. The building we're in right now was built in 1972, and to be quite frank and quite honest with all our viewers out there, the building is quite old, quite tired, has outlived its usefulness, and we've grown beyond it at this point. The building is non-code compliant and just does not meet the needs of the Wolfeboro Police Department and Wolfeboro Fire Rescue Department. So it was nice. It was nice when it was built. The police department, fire department were very grateful to move in there in 1972. But we've really moved beyond that.
Yeah, one addition to what he's saying about the building. So remember, it's 1972, so we're a 24-hour business. So somebody is in that building 24 hours a day, officers, dispatch, fire. So if you think of a normal building, it's 9 to 5. Our building's built in 1972, so it's really double the years of actually it's lived. If you look at it that way, by the amount of use it does get compared to the other town buildings or other buildings in town. So you do have to look at that. And what I'd like to give out there is, if you have any concerns, because it's online, I believe it's online, from that meeting, come into the PD, meet with us. We'd love to show you our current building and what we do somewhat on a day-to-day basis. The officers, we have a ride-along program. Come in, take a ride with one of the officers, see what we do on a day-to-day. See what happens when you come back into that PD and the use of it right now. We pretty much used every capable inch of that building, and we'd love to show you it and see what the difference is compared to the new building that we're presenting compared to what we are working with now. So I just wanted to get that out there. Please, contact us, come in. We'd love to give you a tour of the building. The fire department's the same thing. We can get over there. They'd love to give it the tour of their side and go through that.
Yeah, so those are very important points. The building is in use 24/7. We're a 24/7 agency, police department, and Wolfeboro Central Dispatch. And last thing I want to talk about is Central Dispatch. So again, this is not police dispatch. This is Wolfeboro Central Dispatch. They dispatch for just more than just the police department and the fire department. Though they're under my command, it is a Wolfeboro Central Dispatch. They dispatch for the electric department and public works and animal control and all the other functions that we have. They are really our lifeline, our backup in case of an emergency or crisis to other state agencies, to the federal government, and of course to the officers and the firefighters and the EMS personnel that service the town of Wolfeboro. So very, very important to keep that in the back of your mind. As the captain said, the 25 July Board of Selectmen meeting is where we discuss the public safety building. That video is online. Those minutes are online. You can read and see everything about that online. I encourage you to do so. I encourage you, if you have any questions or concerns, come in, ask to speak to the captain or myself, take a tour of the building, and we can take you through and we can show you the building. And we give building tours all the time. And if you have a group that wants to come in and tour the police department or the fire department, just call us and let us know, and we can facilitate that for you. Thank you very much for joining me and Captain Mark Livy with Coffee and the Connections program. If you want to be on the program, all you need to do is let Tim Goodwin or myself or the captain know you want to be on, and come on and be our guest on Coffee and Connections. As always, the coffee's on me, so come on down. And again, this is Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department signing off for Coffee and Connections. Hi, this is Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department. Welcome back to Coffee and Connections with the Chief, and I'm being joined by Pauline, a friend of mine from Lake Wentworth area. And how long you been living in Lake Wentworth, Pauline?
11 years.
11 years, all right. So, and you're up here from Quincy, right?
We are, yes.
And I used to live in Quincy. What a coincidence. So one of the things, one of the initiatives I have going on, Pauline, is we're trying to get it's a gator. I don't know if you know what a gator is. It's essentially a four-wheel off-road vehicle. And specifically, what we want to do is get that vehicle so we can patrol the Lake Wentworth area and a lot of the islands and the residents in that area during the wintertime, which are prone to break-ins because it's such an isolated area in the winter. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I think that would be great. I don't know how many people go to their own places in the winter, but I think it would be great for you guys to be able to patrol it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, what's starting this is we have a citizen who came to us and said, hey, I think the police department really needs this capability. And, of course, I agree, right? And for us, it's all about capability and capacity, right? Yep. We need to have the capability and the capacity to conduct general police operations. Years ago, I remember we had to beg, borrow, and steal a couple of four-wheelers to get out on the Lake Wentworth area because a lot of places had been broken into, and we couldn't get to some of those residences because of the harsh winter conditions and the snows and the ice. So this is an initiative I'm hoping that you can take back to the Lake Wentworth Association. Sure. Yep. and get them to support, because we really want this 4x4 capability in the form of an off-road vehicle. And Matthew Planch, who is running for state senate, or no, I'm sorry, not state senate, but state representative. Sorry, Matthew, state representative, is the initiator of this project, and we'll be seeking donations. But if we could get your support, along with other concerned citizens, this would also provide us the capability to get out onto the causeway and some of the other areas, whether we have to do a rescue operation or whether we have to respond to a snowmobile accident or a mishap in the wintertime or during times of inclement weather and poor road conditions. This would be a really nice capability to have, and I think one that's long overdue.
So are you the folks that patrol? Do you patrol at all on the causeways, on the trail? We walk the trail all the time.
We do when we can. We can't always get down there because we don't have the right vehicles to get down there and do that. But yes, we do. And there have been incidences that have occurred out on the trails and out on the causeway that we haven't been able to get to. Right now, our only capability to get out there is on mountain bike. We do have a mountain bike unit, but it's not. It's as well you can imagine. It's not going to do very well in the wintertime when we need to get out there. And I have been out on the causeway covering snowmobile crashes and accidents that have occurred out there with serious bodily injury. So having this capability to get police officers and equipment out there to address a crisis is very, very important.
So is this just a winter vehicle, or is it a summer-winter?
It would be all season, but primarily I envision it being used in bad weather conditions during the winter months, or it could be used during the 4th of July to get into very tight and constrained spaces and locations, and crowd control. It could be used for crowd control and so forth and so on. It's an all-purpose, basically an all-purpose vehicle, and it's one I think that is very needed.
Great. I can absolutely tell my friends about it.
Sounds good. Please do, and then let's get them behind this initiative. Do you have any questions of the police department that you want to ask?
Not right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. No, thank you for being on our show. We really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
And do me a favor, give my regards to Quincy when you go back home.
I will.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome back to Coffee and Connections. I'm here with Erin, a newfound friend, and Catherine, and they're up here. They're summer residents. They only come up in the summertime, and they had a couple of questions. The first is, we wanted to talk about Wolfeboro in the wintertime, right? And yeah, it's pretty cool. And so I can certainly dig that. So the first thing I'll talk about is what it's like in the wintertime. We get a lot of snow up here, right, as well you can imagine. And it's pretty. It's beautiful. It can be very serene. It can be very peaceful. There is actually a lot to do up here in the wintertime. We have some great hiking trails. Did you know we have our own ski area right here in Wolfeboro?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we have Mount Abenaki, and it actually has a pretty significant vertical drop. So the Wolfeboro ski team races there all the time. That's where they practice their slalom. I used to do ski patrol there years ago when I was younger, when I was a younger man. And that also connects to a right at the, and we have our own ski lodge. Right, you guys got to go up and see it. Beautiful ski lodge right there, brand new, built it about 2 or 3 years ago. And in the wintertime, it's nice. They got the fireplace going. You can do your alpine skiing, but we also have the cross-country ski trails. And there's miles and miles and miles of cross-country ski trails, and then the snowshoeing up here is awesome. Nice deep snow. So we have a lot of recreational opportunities in the wintertime up in Wolfeboro. But it is a harsh environment, right? I mean, it can be. It can be a very harsh environment. It can be very cold. It gets down to, during the middle of February, into minus 30 or 40 below. It's not uncommon. So you have to be careful, and if you are going to go out, and I'm all about public safety, right? If you are going to go out, you need to be dressed for the environment, right? You have to make sure you dress in layers and wear your long clothing and so forth and so on, and make sure that you're dressed for the environment. And of course, you want to You know, in the Army, we would call it, right, the 5-point contingency plan, right? Where are you going, who are you going with, what time are you leaving, what time are you departing, and what time are you going to be coming back home, right? What we call the 5-point contingency plan. So you got to do that too, right? That's really, really important. So both you girls like to ski?
Yeah. Yes. We don't ski as much, but we like it a lot.
Nice, that's good. Yeah, I'm a big skier, so I enjoy both downhill and cross country. And you had a second question, right?
Yes, we were going to ask about like law enforcement today, how it's changed.
Law enforcement and how it's changed. You know, that's a really that's a deep question, right? And that's a great question, and it's one that's a little philosophical, which is great. And so let's talk about that. So when I came on board as a police officer 23 years ago, law enforcement, I think, was very reactive. And what that means is we would wait for a crime to happen, and then we go investigate and arrest the perpetrator, right? And I really think that was the wrong model. That never made a lot of sense to me. I was a proactive guy, and coming in from the military, to me it was all about problem solving. The tenets of community policing really teach us that we should be part of the community problem-solving basis, and we should be solving these community problems at an early stage, an early level, and I think that's very important. And so being proactive in that sense helps us to solve problems before they become a significant issue for the community and cost tax dollars and tie up valuable police resources that we really just don't have. So I think that though police officers are not necessarily trained in that, only police officers can do that function. And I think that's really, really important to keep in mind. So I think that's one of the ways that law enforcement has changed over, say, the last 20 years or so. We've become more problem solvers in the community as opposed to simply taking a black and white approach to law enforcement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions that you have?
I don't think so on the spot.
All right, so ladies, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a really enjoyable summer up here, and I really do appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, how you doing? This is Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department. Welcome back to Coffee and Connections. And I want to give the safety tip of the month for the month of September, and the children are going to be going back to school. And depending on what school they're going to, startup dates are either 4 or 9 September. Brewster Academy is already back in school. So with that being said, I need you to be mindful of pedestrians, mindful of the kids going to school, the young children, young students walking or riding their bikes, taking advantage of the last few days of the summer months before fall sets in, and then, as you know, winter will be upon us. Having said that, leave extra time. The school buses will be out. The children will be crossing at the crosswalks going to Carpenter School and middle school and the high school complex. So leave extra time. Be careful. Be mindful. And give them a wide berth while you're on your way to work or running your errands or conducting all the affairs that you normally conduct in your busy lives. In the meantime, as always, keep an eye on the weather. As the fall approaches and we get further and further into the fall, the sloppy weather will begin. And listen, wet fallen leaves on the roadway can be just as slippery as ice or snow. So be mindful of that, and be careful. Once we get into the fall, be careful of leaves on the roadway and how slippery they can become, especially after a rainstorm. Thank you very much, and this is Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department with your safety tip of the month. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us on Coffee and Connections with the Chief.